What's good, YouTube? Let me knock you in the eyeball socket with one of these notes right here. All right, now, so what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about white supremacy, aka what I call white suparasitism. And the reason why I call it a parasite or parasitism, we're about to get into that. But before we do that, I want to ask you guys to try to watch the video all the way through. On my recent videos, I've had people commenting in this comment section without fully understanding or grasping the entire video, which they would be able to do if they listened to the entire video and paid attention to the entire lesson. So I please ask that you watch all the way through or listen all the way through, get all of what I'm saying, understand it, sit on it, meditate it, and then comment. And then you can have a good idea of what it is that I'm trying to convey. I saw a lot of this with my reparations video and with my Dr. Umar and the N-word video. Now, the responses to my reparations video, I'm going to explain why I got the reactions in the comment section that I got, and that is because of this right here, which is white supremacy, aka white suparasitism. Now, being that it's a parasite, it needs two things. One, it needs a host that it can feed on, and two, it needs to cloak itself for its survival. Let's start with needing a host to feed on first. So, in this instance of how white supremacy is a parasite, is that it feeds on, I know that it looks like 3 E's and an L, but it's a D, trust me. It feeds on everyone, but especially black people. Especially black people. You're gonna see what I mean. They take from us and say that what's ours is theirs, but they never really say what's theirs is ours. And if they do, it's something that they really can't give to us anyway. Like they say, oh, you're American. But when people around the world think of American, the first thing they think of is a white person, blonde hair, blue eyed. They don't think of a black person, but yet they want to give something to us that we can't actually receive. It's kind of like a concept that I used to hear as a little kid called Indian giving, which I don't know why they called it that. It should have been white giving. But it's where they give you something and they take it back, or they give you something that's useless, or they give you something like smallpox. And some examples is that they take our music. They're trying to take hip hop right now. They've taken country, jazz, blues, sports. Like right now with Angel Reese, they're trying to give all of Angel Reese's shine to Caitlin Clark because they didn't want a black woman being the reason why so many eyes are coming to the WNBA. Civil rights, like how you recently saw in that Donald Trump assassination attempt, whether it be staged or not, how he was raising his fist, which is normally associated with what black American freedmen do as a sign of, fighting back against oppression and whatnot. And then you have our inventions / innovations, where people will automatically assume that a white person invented something until you find out that a black person did. So if we get a little deeper, we see that they make money off of our destruction like a parasite or a leech. They also don't want us to, and this right here is it's the hardest part to really it's the hardest part to accept for a lot of people, especially black people, because black people like to feel as if people aren't this way, people aren't evil, or people aren't maniacal or conniving or anything like that. They want to believe that it's true, that they won't do this, but they do. And the thing is that they also don't want us to get our act together, because a healthy body gets rid of parasites on its own. Right here, like I just told you, they make money off of our destruction. And if we're not destroying ourselves, there's no money to be made. There's no spoils to be had. So they have to make sure that we constantly are fighting each other, destroying each other, because that's how everybody else gets their money. When we look at the white and Jewish, the white Jewish owners of hip hop, or the media apparatuses, they control the images. And Charlemagne the God pressed up on one Jewish dude, and he was like, why do you promote all this negativity? Why don't you promote some positivity if you see that it's destroying our community? And he says, at the end of the day, I got people to feed. He ain't talking about black Americans. I can guarantee you that. He's talking about his own family, his own peers, and his own community, because that, at the end of the day, is the only people that he cares about, which is not it's not a wrong thing. However, the way in which he's going about it shows just how much they make money off of our destruction. Same thing with private prisons. So when they say, oh, you guys need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or these immigrants come over and they do it better and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. They really don't want us to get our act together, because once we do, we're going to be a healthy host, and a really healthy host with a really good immune system that's going to get that parasite up out of there. And white people, deep down, they know that they leech and that they parasite off of us. So they have to make sure that we don't get too healthy, we don't get too powerful. And like I said before in my reparations video, this is why I had people commenting like, oh, why don't you just buy a business and stop spending the money on weed? Or, you guys didn't go through anything, so the people who should have got the money are already dead, so you shouldn't get it. It's like, if they had the money, they would pass it down. So for you to say that we shouldn't get it because they should have gotten it, even though they would have passed it down and built wealth with it, is stupid. But you can really see just how much they don't want us to get out of this subservient position. They want us to stay there because it benefits them. Just like a parasite. Now, for a parasite, it also needs to cloak itself for survival. It needs to hide. Why? Because if the parasite is outed, the natural thing to do would be to get rid of it. A parasite doesn't benefit a host. A parasite destroys a host. So like the body protecting itself is going to get rid of that parasite, because that parasite is not contributing anything necessary, anything stable, anything healthy to the host. It's literally just there to take for its own survival at the cost of the host itself. White suparasites will either deny white suparasitism or supremacy, or say that it was, or it is, or was beneficial, aka just lie, just plain out lie. They will lie to you and say that, oh, well, slavery wasn't that bad. Have you been in slavery? I know people who have gone through slavery-like things, and they're not even, like, they're still here on this earth. Like, they understand what it's like to pick cotton, because they did. They know what it's like to watch as the master of the house takes your wife and does whatever he wants to do with her and dares you to do something about it. They know what it's like for to see a white man put a foot in a black person's behind and have him say, "Thank you, master." There are people who are still alive who remember things like this. And for people who say that slavery isn't that bad, let me see what you would do if a black person was putting a foot in between your cheeks and you bending over saying, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another one?" While he then takes your white wife or your Latina wife or your Asian wife and do whatever with her that he pleases and dares you to do anything about it. You quickly see how a lot of the stuff that they say is just a whole flat out lie because they need to cloak themselves. It's for their survival. Like, it's literally for their survival. They will literally die rather than, oh my goodness, my handwriting. They would much rather die than to admit that they are wrong. Why? Because for them, admitting that they're wrong is almost the same thing as dying. And then we come to a very hard truth that white people will debate till they are blue in the face and pass away. They will debate this and say that what I'm about to say is nowhere near the truth and it will never, ever be recognized as the truth, even though it is. Because white supremacy, the thing that they do the most is they lie. So this is a hard truth that white people really hate to accept. Nowhere in white society have they been able to build a nation that lasts without other people's help. Like Greece and Rome, two of the biggest quote unquote white civilizations they like to hang their hat on. If you were to, like, let's say, listen to some scholars, especially like Professor Black Truth, he broke down things like Greece and Rome and how they were actually mixed. There was a lot of mixed people up there. There was a lot of African peoples up there who actually helped to get the systems of, like, you know, the aqueducts and whatnot to actually help get that in order. Because when the white people were left to their own devices, they destroyed it pretty similarly to how they're destroying America right now. They destroy places on their own because why? And this is the biggest thing right here. Parasites can't really build on their own. They need help, aka a host. They need to have a host in order to actually help them build because they can't really build or sustain anything on their own. Even when it comes to America, if black Americans were not here on this continent when they arrived, if there were no Africans for them to buy in order to bring over to America, if they did not have black people, America would not be where it is right now. And even though you would say, well, they were just farm tools and farm animals and all this other stuff, even if that was the case, because they brought more than just that, they brought intellect and knowledge of the land and agriculture and things like that, and of architecture design. Even if we just say that they were just farm tools and farm hands, still they would not have been able to do it without us, because when they tried to do it with the red Native Americans, they collapsed. When they tried to do it with the white Native Americans, they collapsed. The white people, they collapsed. They could not do it. They had to go and get us specifically. They had to get us specifically. They didn't go and say, you know what, let me go to the Philippines. Let me go to China. Let me go to Japan. Let me go to Australia. They didn't say none of that. They said, let me get the folks who are already right here, the black folks, the black Amerindians that are already here, and let me get some of these Africans who look pretty similar to them, and let me bring them together and let me have them do what needs to be done here. So that right there already lets you know that because we were here and because we were the chosen ones to build, we were the chosen farm tools or farm animals to build this country, even within that, we were still needed, and this country would not have been built without us and without our interference or without our participation. And now, lastly, also, if you like what you're hearing right now, I want you to go ahead and hit that like button for me. Also, subscribe to the channel. I don't pump out videos that often, but when I do, I try to make sure that they're very prolific and very profound to try to make sure that you guys are getting some really good knowledge and information out of these things. I like to philosophize on things a lot to be able to come up with these lessons and these theories and these talks. so that I can kind of like teach it to you guys and then give it to you so that you can take it and run with it and see how far it can really go. So this, is just a little, thing. So, but yeah, I would appreciate if you guys like the video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Go ahead and put white SuPARASITIS in the comment section so I know that you made it this far. All right, but let's continue. So, white parasitism exists in more than just one ism. Now, ism, what I mean by that is things like this: racism, including ethnicity, classism, sexism, genderism, and ageism. Now, I'm gonna save racism for last, but I'm gonna tackle classism. What is a lie that you often hear in classism? That if you work hard, you can get rich. We all know that to be a lie now. When we look at, let's say, sexism, the gender wars, what is a lie we hear in that? The lie that we hear is that masculinity is evil, and it's evil in nature. Like, it is inherently evil, which is not true and is not the case. And that we hear that femininity is perfect in nature, which is also not the case. We are both, we're both human beings. We're both flawed. One is not better than the other. One has never been better than the other. However, that's the lie. The lie in genderism is that there's more than two genders. Genders are based on sex, and sex is based off of biology. So gender literally derives from sex, which means that it comes from only two areas, which is masculine and feminine, or male and female, which turned into masculine and feminine. Everything else just kind of, it doesn't really exist other than as a kind of figment or a way of expressing masculinity or femininity, but it's still embracing or expressing masculinity or femininity from the duality or the binary, although people want to say that they're non-binary. It's just a way that you express femininity or a way that you express masculinity. And then we have ageism. One of the lies is that younger people are just inherently spoiled and selfish, when I'm actually one of the hardest working people that I actually know personally. And that's with people who are older than me and some people who are younger than me. And not just like for me, but I've also seen like other younger people who work hard and put in work and put in effort. So it's not that we're all spoiled, but it's one of those things that they just say like, oh, these young kids today, the youth are ruining the country. They're ruining everything. And it's like, we inherited this from the older generation. So if the older generations did a better job, the younger generations will have nothing to worry about. But the younger generations have a lot to worry about because the older generations didn't really do much. Or they really didn't build that. They really didn't build much structure. Now going to racism. The reason why I put including ethnicity is because white supremacy exists in racism as far as the ethnicity as well. When we hear racism, we think of like a white person screaming the N-word at a black person. That's not the end all be all of racism, because racism also includes ethnicity. And when we look at ethnicity, if we're going that route, then we have to consider Black American freedmen as a separate ethnicity. And we have people called the Latinos, or as some people call them, the Latinos or Latchtinos, who are trying to we have them, we have the Asians, and then we have white people, of course. But then we also have room for Black immigrants. So when we look at it, like I recently saw some videos on a social media site, and it was about, what was it? It was an interracial couple, a black man and a white woman. And the white woman was, what she did? She was talking about how black men always say I now to each other. And she wanted to know why that was. Well, in the comment section, someone, of course, a Latino felt the need to say, oh, black men aren't the only one to do this. We do this as well. And that's what's called ethnic erasure, where they're trying to feed off of our culture, just like how white supremacy feeds off of our culture. And what he was saying was that, like, oh yeah, Hispanic people do this too. It's not just a black thing, which is automatically erasing black people from black culture, because that's something that we primarily do to each other, which is a form of leeching or feeding off of us. And then another example, I saw another video of where there was a white guy. He was pretending to be a white child, and he came into his house and he was like, "Mom, don't do the dishes. I'm going to do them." And like, you know, he's doing the dishes and he's singing like old black gospel songs and stuff. And the caption said, like, after you spend the night over your black friend's house. And then just like that, just like clockwork, every single time, another Latino was in the comment section talking about oh yeah, if you bring your child to our house, like they'll be dancing they'll be doing the borachata y dancing the borachata while cleaning every crevice of your house. And it's just like, the caption said black house. It didn't say anything about Latino. But like clockwork, every time something is mentioned for black people, Latinos always feel the need to latch on and feed off of whatever black people are getting. They feel entitled to whatever black people get. And they learn that from white supremacy. Why? Because white supremacy will take our culture and say that, oh no, this is not black culture, this is American culture. And American is synonymous with white. So what they're really saying is that this isn't black culture, this is white culture. And then they show the Latinos how to steal from black people and say that what is ours is theirs. And Latinos learn from that and they do the same thing. Now with the Asians, I also recently seen a video that Tariq had posted of a Japanese woman who was imitating, or quote unquote imitating, Chicano culture. However, the only thing that was Chicano about what she was doing, or the way that she looked, was her hair. That was the only thing that was Chicano about what she was doing. Because she was wearing a blue flannel, some Dickies, some white Air Forces, crip walking with a blue bandana on her head, with a blue lowrider in the back bouncing to what's that song by Dr. Dre? I forgot. Like doom 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 doom. I forgot the name of that song. But was Still Dre or something? I forgot. But she was crip walking to that song. So everything that she was doing was from black people. However, excuse me. However, she claimed it to be Chicano culture. But the thing is that that's not Chicano culture. The only thing Chicano is the way that her hair was done and the way that her makeup was done. That was the only thing that was Chicano about it. And I know that in Japan, they have a big Chicano scene. They have a lot of different scenes out there. They have apparently a Jamaican reggae scene out there as well. But she was saying that it was Chicano culture, even though she don't even know that that's not Chicano culture. But she was using Latino culture as a way to co-opt black culture, and she was really none the wiser. But that's that's a way of Asian people showing their erasure of black, or their way of feeding off of black people as well. And another example is that I seen a video of these Asian gentlemen who were at they were at a concert, I believe, and there was some from Santa Fe and some from San Jose and some from San Francisco. And they were all in a big kind of brawl area where they was about to start fighting, and they're just yelling at each other saying, "Come on, N-word." I'm just like, hold on, what? They all calling each other the N-word. But that's because that they think that gangsterism is automatically equal to Black American culture, which it is not. It is very disrespectful to assume so. But they were acting as if, like, a lot of people say that, oh, I grew up in the hood so I can say it. People like, who's another Asian person? Like China Mac. Like, he used to say the N-word because he felt that, like, it was just a hood thing. It wasn't like a black or white thing. But the thing is that it is a black and white thing. It is a black thing specifically. But they felt as if they can take that because they learned from white supremacy, who constantly takes from Black American culture and calls it and claims it for their own. So, acting out the same thing that they're acting out the same thing that white supremacy does, or white SuPARASITISM is. So I say all that to say is that it also exists in more than just one race or ethnicity, which I just gave a couple of examples of. Oh yeah, also in Black immigrants, where they come over and they claim Black. However, whenever they do a crime or something, they're like, oh, this Black person, this. But whenever they do something, whenever they achieve something, then it's like, oh, I'm Nigerian. Oh, I'm Trinidadian. Oh, I'm Haitian. Oh, I'm Caribbean. I'm this or I'm that. And it's like, no. If you're going to claim our culture, you need to be a part of our culture and do as of our culture. You're not going to claim our culture and then come and do whatever you want to do with our culture and claim that is our culture. Like, you're not going to bring your incessant twerking over and then going to say that, oh, this is Black culture. Like, no, that's y'all dance hall culture that y'all brought over that y'all got going on. Like, no, that's y'all Caribbean stuff over there that y'all brought all that degeneracy over to Black American culture. And now Black Americans just have to identify with it, which is very racist. And then people would often say, well, how can I be a white supremacist if I'm not even white? I'm Black. Ha 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 ha. It's likened to like a mental illness. Like, back during slavery, they used to say that Black people who wanted to be freed had a mental illness called drapetomania, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, drapetomania. They had crazy wants to like be freed, which is very crazy in and of itself, to say that someone who doesn't want to be treated as an animal or cattle or less than a human is crazy for wanting their freedom. That's more wild than actually, having a mental illness, like something like, schizophrenia or something like that. But the reason why I liken it to like a mental illness is because in order for you to be a white supremacist, you have to have a huge amount of what we call, if I can remember how to spell it, you have to have a whole lot of narcissism in order to be a white supremacist. And as you already know, narcissism is something that needs treatment. It's something that you have to really go through and work hard in order to get rid of, because it's such a dangerous thing. And like, they have medical care treatments. They have like causes, examples, types. Like, it's a clinical disorder. It's a really clinical disorder. And you have to have that in order to be a white supremacist. Why? It's because you have to constantly You have to constantly lie. You have to constantly lie in order for you to be a white supremacist or a white parasite. You have to constantly lie. You can never tell the truth. Why? Because if you tell the truth, and you shame the devil, the natural thing to do would be to get rid of it. And they don't want to get rid of it because it benefits them. White supremacy or white parasitism benefits people. Excuse me. It doesn't just benefit white people, it benefits Latinos, it benefits Asians, it benefits red Native Americans, it benefits white people. Of course, white people. It benefits black immigrants. It benefits everybody except for black American people who don't get on board with this white supremacy and don't have this level of narcissism in order to be a part of it. Because as a narcissist would do, they would literally lie to your face. After doing something very blatant, they will lie to your face and tell you that they didn't do it. But that's what you need. You need to have this. You need to have this in order to be a white parasite. So whenever I'm arguing, I was arguing with people on Twitter. Excuse me. I was arguing with white parasites on Twitter, and they would always say things like, "Oh, you guys are just this, or you guys are just that, or this or that, or if you work harder, you do this, you do that." And like, oh, there's nothing wrong with America. There's something wrong with your culture and your people and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yeah, you can try to say that, but it doesn't excuse the fact that black people, like black Americans, commit crimes based on the economics because we're poor. And even then, there's been multiple reports of white police officers arresting black people for fake crimes in order to boost stats so that they can make black people look more criminal, which they don't do for white people, which they actually underreport white criminals and white crimes, which is them lying. Not only are they lying, they are literally manipulating information in order to lie. That is something that a narcissist would do. That's not something a sane person would do. That's something a narcissist would do. That's why I liken white parasitism to that of a mental illness. So you don't have to be white to be a white parasite. White parasite exists in more than just one ism, and it exists in more than just one race or ethnicity. If you are someone who, like in my previous videos, if you're someone who is against reparations, you are a white parasite. If you are upset at Yasuke being used in Assassin's Creed, you are a white parasite, including if you are Japanese. If you are someone who tries to tell other people how their culture is because you think that you're entitled to it, you are a white parasite. And if you are a black American freedman person who acts on the behalf and who acts out these same ways or use the same talking points as these white parasites, you are by association a white parasite as well. And this is a great way to identify who is racist and who is not, and who is a coon in our midst and who is not, or who is a tether in our midst and who is not. So I hope you had a good one. I would appreciate if you liked the video to try to get it out there a little bit more. I appreciate if you watched it all the way through. Go ahead and give me a fist emoji if you made it all the way this far to the end. And I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Even people who are going to watch this and going to hate and leave hate comments under it, I appreciate you for watching it too. But yeah, that's been it for me today. And I hope you guys learn something from it. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.